Hi everyone, it's Emily, and it's been a while since I posted my last video in my little unexpected hiatus, but I'm back and I wanted to share my game pickups with you all before I start to amass too large of a haul to cover in one of these videos. I actually haven't buying too many new gaming related items recently, so these were all pre-orders that came in for the most part, with a few exceptions. And there are a few expensive items that I've been trying to save up for. I really want to get that Trails in the Sky Ornament pocket watch. It just looks so cool and it's ridiculously expensive, so I need to kind of divert most of my funds this month towards that. And there's of course other things I've been trying to save up for, and I'm really hoping to hit some of the Black Friday sales this year because there are a lot of good ones, especially for the PS5 that happened last year that I'm hoping happen again this year. But there are a variety of things to share today on multiple different systems, new and old, as well as a new gaming system that you may have seen in the thumbnail, and some other miscellaneous gaming related merch. So I'm going to go through Switch games first with this newest release, the Rune Factory 3 Special. And I have the Golden Memories edition here, which is their limited edition. So I do have quite a history with Rune Factory. When I played Rune Factory 4 on 3DS back in the day, I just fell in love and got so sucked into that world and that gameplay style. And it was my first introductory to the farming simulator genre. And I really liked how it mixed a lot of the RPG elements with it, to make it a little bit more palatable for me as a newcomer. And I quite enjoy the Rune Factory special boxes that they've been doing for the Switch. So I of course had to order this, and it comes with a variety of cool things. I do wish that there was a photo book of some sort or a steel book like the last two different limited editions they had for Rune Factory. But there's a really nice soundtrack, and I really like the commemorative acrylic standee featuring the different protagonists from the previous 3 games. The planner they included is also a nice touch, though I don't really see myself using it for the game specifically, but the back few pages are usable for any gear, just for anything. So I might consider using that at some point. But knowing me, it's very difficult to use these kind of stationary products that are included in these limited editions just because I don't want to ruin them. But I'm really excited to try out Rune Factory 3 because I never played the original DS version. I've heard pretty good things about the game. The 4th one I think is still considered one of the best in the series. I really wanted to get into Rune Factory 5, but when it came out at launch, I was hoping there would be a patch to make the performance a little bit better on the Switch, so I actually haven't gone back to it. I only put about 5 hours in last year, but it's one of those circumstances where I put it down hoping there'd be some sort of patch or performance enhancements, and when there wasn't, I was a little disappointed. But I do plan on picking that up again someday and seeing it through. But if you're interested in the limited edition for this, I think you can still grab this on the XC website. I got my copy on Amazon, so I'll drop an affiliate link for anyone interested if they still have copies. Though if you want to order it somewhere where they pack it with a little bit more care, I do recommend probably other stores. Mine, thankfully, came pretty intact without any major damage issues. The next up are 2 Switch games that I got from Video Games Plus. They're a Canadian-based website that ships internationally, and I really like using them because I find them to be really cost-effective compared to US sites, especially if you're buying at MSRP, and they occasionally have sales too, which I like to dip into when they're offered. But these are 2 games that were not on sale. One is a reprint of a game I actually already own, but I really wanted to get the North American version just for my collection. Whenever I talk about this in previous collection videos or whatnot, I do get some pushback where people say it's a region-free system. It doesn't really matter what region you get it as long as it plays in English. But there's something about the Switch spines that I really do not like it when they're misaligned. And there's a big difference between the PAL region and the North American region when it comes to the Switch spines that just really bug me, and I guess bring out my OCD whenever looking at my shelf. So I was able to replace the first Atelier Ryza game, The Everdarkness and the Secret Hideout, with this lovely North American version. So now I own all of the North American Atelier Ryza games, thankfully. And this is one of my favorite franchises, and I just adore the Atelier Ryza games. So it was kind of a priority for me to get everything in the same region whenever possible. The Ryza games on the Switch as well as the PS4 have received multiple reprints through Video Games Plus. And I think right now they have an open pre-order for this first game. So if you missed out on the North American version, you could go over to their website, and I think they have an open pre-order available right now if you wanted to secure a copy. There are a few other PAL games I have in my collection that I would love to switch out for North American versions. but I really wanted to prioritize Rise of One here because it is one of my favorite games on the system. So along with that Rise of game, I also picked up Tunic here from Fangamer. So I ordered this through Video Games Plus because it actually ended up being cheaper than ordering it directly from Fangamer. When you factor in shipping costs as well as tax. And I just love the holographic cover that they have in this little slipcase box. It's truly stunning, and you have the holographic sheen also on the back there. And Fangamer really went out of their way to pack this full of goodies. You have stickers, a map, various manuals, and I just love all the details. And I do like how much attention to detail they put into the manual in particular, given the nature of the game, and how in the game you're actually supposed to be decoding the special language to kind of understand the lore and what's going on in the story. So Tunic is well known as a Zelda-like clone. However, the difficulty level is notoriously up there. I've only played a little bit of this on my brother's console, who bought this digitally, I think maybe last year. And I've been holding out to go full in for this physical copy. So I'm really happy to finally have this, and I'm just really looking forward to getting into it and hopefully finishing it, just given the high difficulty level that it's pretty notorious for. This next Switch game is one I actually ordered last year, but I bundled it with another game that got constant delays. So it's finally here, and that is Grim Fandango Remastered. And so I've ordered this from I Am 8-Bit, and I'll show the other game a little bit later in this video. But this variant of this game comes with this slipcover, and you have the game inside along with this kind of fake matchbook and this golden ticket. This was a little bit of an impulse buy for me because I've heard really great things about this game. It's a very well-known point-and-click adventure, and one that I've always been a little bit curious about. I don't know how well point-and-click adventures play on the Switch, but I've heard pretty positive things about this remaster, so I figured this was a good way to try out. And I really haven't gone back into point-and-click adventures since when I was a child and playing like Putt-Putt and those type of point-and-click adventures, if you would call them that, back on the PC when I was like 5 or 6. So I'm really excited to get back into this genre and of course see a more mature take of this style of gameplay. Then the last two Switch games are ones I got from these limited distribution companies. The first one is Raji, and so this is from Premium Edition Games that I pre-ordered, I want to say last December, around there. So I'm really excited that this is finally here. I remember seeing this on the Nintendo Direct and just thinking this looks so cool, and it's so cool to see a game placed in this more Indian setting, mixed in with some Hindu mythology. So I'm really excited to try this out. I think this has some light platforming elements, but it also has a lot of action combat as well that looks really neat, and just graphically this game looks stunning. So I really hope it performs well on the Switch. I haven't really followed up too much on other reviews after it came out, but I want to say it reviewed fairly well. And this also came with the pre-order dog tag that Premium Edition Games hand out, as well as a nice thick manual that's all in color, which I always appreciate. This is also how Premium Edition Games do their standard editions, which I always thought was really cool. They also have lovely collector's editions that I haven't tried out myself yet. I always try to be super conscious of what collector's editions I decide to pick up just because of how bulky they can be. And I really enjoy the packaging for the standard editions, so they're kind of almost like collector's editions in a way. And the only minor criticism I have regarding the packaging is they chose a Kotaku quote on the back of the box here, which is a choice. But otherwise, it's a really nice package, and I'm excited to get into this game. And then the last Nintendo Switch game I have in this haul is Night in the Woods. And this is a limited run exclusive. I believe it's one of their numbered releases because this came with one of their trading cards. And thankfully this is one of the last limited run packages I have through them. And I'm tempted to buy a couple of their upcoming pre-orders, but I'm really trying to cut back from these limited publishers that have long pre-order windows. And I figured if there's a game that I really must have, there are places like Video Games Plus that sell them on the secondary market for fair prices. So I can always hopefully scoop them up through there. Though I feel like that little trick is kind of catching on, which is what it is. But Night in the Woods is a pretty popular indie release that I've heard nothing but good things about, especially how they handle some darker topics, like dealing with depression, I want to say. is this particular one or something adjacent to that. And I'm really curious about this developer's new game that was announced recently on a Nintendo Direct with that same sort of cat character look to it. I'm not totally sure if that's related to Night in the Woods or if it's just placed in the same universe or something, or the same art style. But when it comes to this package, it looks really nice, and I've noticed that limited run games has been skipping out on their little insert manuals, so this only has like 4 pages, which is disappointing. But otherwise, it's a really nice package. And in that same order, I also picked up this Game Boy Color release, Heinz Quest. So this is a collaboration they did with Crunchyroll, and I believe this game you could actually just download the ROM for free on some website, but I had the idea of wanting to pick up more Game Boy and Game Boy Color games, so I kind of gave in and just ended up buying this through Limited Run Games. There are 2 different variants. The one I have has the teal game cart, whereas if you order this on Crunchyroll's website, I believe it came with an orange game cart. But from what I read of this game, it looked really fun and kind of a nostalgic trip going back into the late 90s, early 2000s, involving some sort of anime club. So part of me slightly regrets getting this because I don't really need probably this physically, since the developers provided this ROM for free. But it's kind of a nice little token to have, especially I think once I get into it. I might try this sometime soon to see how I like it. It might be just another nice little novelty piece for the collection, and it's so hard to come by Game Boy boxes these days, so be a nice little area on my shelf that I was thinking of kind of carving out to go with the next thing I'm going to share, which is the Game Boy Pocket here. So I pre-ordered this, I want to say around March, maybe April of this year, and it came a couple of weeks ago. And I've been testing it out and just having a blast, kind of revisiting some of the Game Boy games and Game Boy Advance games. So far, I haven't had a chance to test out the custom firmware or all the ROM options that the Analogue Pocket can do. But I've been having a blast just going through some of my older games and kind of testing out how they work, because I have heard from others that sometimes game carts, even if they work on the original hardware, sometimes they have issues on the Analogue Pocket. But thankfully all of my games have been tested and work just fine. So it's been fun kind of going through there. And I've been mostly just playing A Link to the Past on here, since it is my favorite childhood game, and I just have so many fond memories, and it's so cool to see it be brought back to life on this just beautiful screen. There are a ton of emulation options nowadays, so the Analogue Pocket is definitely, I think, one of the more expensive options, and it might not be worth it for everyone. I really like the ability to play the original game cards, just like I'm kind of back as a kid again, and playing the original Game Boy Color like I have right here on my shelf. It just brings back so many nostalgic memories, and it's definitely something I don't think I could reenact with another system, just because of how similar the form factor is on the Pocket here. There's also different add-ons you could have on the Analogue Pocket to play different system games like the Game Gear and some others. And I think through the custom firmware options, the possibilities are open through that as well. But I think if you're looking to just use ROMs as your way of emulation, the Game Boy Pocket might be a bit on the expensive side. So there might be some better options if that's the route you want to go down. But if you want to also play and kind of recreate that nostalgic feel of inserting the game cartridge into something that looks like a Game Boy Color, then I think the Game Boy Pocket is definitely something worth investing in. And it has a beautiful screen and just so many different possibilities of what you could do on the system. I actually opted out for getting the dock, even though the dock would have been nice, especially if I wanted to try streaming or recording footage for some of these games, but it's really expensive at $100. So at the time, I really didn't want to invest that. I might consider it down the line and have another long pre-order wait period for it to arrive, but at this time I'm really content just having this as my primary emulation handheld, and I'm really excited to test out more games on here, as well as some of the custom firmware and ROM possibilities. Now before we get into the PS4 and PS5 games, I did pick up a PSP game, and this is one I'm super excited about, and I've been really wanting to, I guess, fill out my Falcom collection and collect some of the older titles that I've never played before and that I really just want in my collection, because Falcom makes some pretty solid games. I picked up Ys 7 on the PSP, and this guy is getting a bit expensive. Thankfully, I had like a $20 discount coupon from Mercari that I applied to this, and I didn't have to pay an arm and a leg for it, but it's in great condition and it comes with the full color manual, which is always great to see in these PSP releases, just how thick the manuals used to be back for handhelds back in the day. And I was just so excited to dive more into the Ys universe. I've really only done surface level stuff with Ys 8, a little bit of Ys 9. I really want to get back into, and also just dive more into these older titles, because it's really uncertain whether or not we're going to be getting remakes for these games anytime soon. I know in Japan they've already received one Switch remake, but because these games were handled by XSEED before, who knows what the holdup is and why we haven't been seeing more Ys remakes since Memories of Celceta on the PS4. I'm not too sure how many more of the Ys games I will pick up on the PSP, just because of the possibility of them potentially getting remakes and just how expensive they are and whether or not they're worth picking up physically at this point. But I'm really happy to have the 7th entry here, and hoping to also just grow my collection a little bit more. And I'm like also excited for those figures that Kotobukiya just announced for Ys 8 of Aldol and Donna. So I'm excited to see what those look like. I don't know if I'll pick them up because my shelf is getting a little full of figures at the moment, especially with Trails right now. But I might pick up Adel at least. We'll see. It depends on what design they go with. But continue with Ys. I also picked up Ys Origin, the collector's edition for the PS4. And this collector's edition is a PAL release that was through Strictly Limited Games. And they actually had a fantastic sale, I would say a month or two ago, where they were offering free shipping. And I think their Ys Origin games were discounted pretty substantially too, in addition to that. So I didn't pick this up for very much at all. There's some nice goodies inside. I already own this game on the Switch, but I have the Best Buy variant, so I figured getting the PS4 version made sense. But I also wanted to pick this up on the PS4 just to diversify my Falcom shelf a little bit and not double dip on the same system for these games. Limited Run Games also did a collector's edition for the Ys Origin game, but given the price point of this one, I'm glad to have the CD, and I think the acrylic standee is also very nice. It'll look nice on my shelf. I'm going to save the other PS4 games I got in a collector's edition towards the end, because that contains a little bit of spoilers for those who are also maybe anticipating this release that just came out. So I'm just going to get into the 2 PS5 games I got last month. So the first PS5 game is one I already shared on the channel, and that is Sword and Fairy Together Forever, or Sword and Fairy 7. And I was gifted this by Serenity Forge, along with the collector's edition that I unboxed on the channel. And as I mentioned in my unboxing, the collector's edition is just stunning. It's one of the prettiest collector's editions I've received in quite some time that I think is really good value for the amount of items you receive. And the game is also a ton of fun. I've been having a blast with it. It's a high fantasy Chinese RPG game that is a ton of fun, and I've really been enjoying it. It does have its issues when it comes to some performance things, and I've had some sound issues as well that I'll get into when I eventually post my quarterly review video. Overall, I really thought this was a refreshing take on the RPG genre that we don't see out here in the West too often. And I had a lot of fun getting to know the characters and the story, and the gameplay was also a lot of fun. The other PS5 game I got was one through the Amazon buy one, get one free deal. And unfortunately, when you order from Amazon, you can receive cracked cases. And I've noticed that the PS5 cases are quite fragile. So this is one that unfortunately got a little busted, so I might need to look for a replacement. But I ended up getting the Deerfield Chronicle. And this is a strategy RPG from Square Enix that looked really interesting. It's not one of Square Enix's high budget RPG games, but overall I've heard very positive things about it and a different take to the strategy RPG genre. And there's some cool characters and political intrigue that's woven throughout the game that I'm excited to get into. And I ended up getting this on the PS5 instead of the Switch, mostly because the PS5 version was the one in the sale. I do tend to prefer strategy RPGs in handheld, so I usually go with the Switch whenever given a choice. But I think graphically it's going to look much more impressive on the PS5, so we'll see how it goes. Now the last 2 games I'll be sharing in this haul video are ones that are inside of a collector's edition that I've been waiting for well over a year to arrive. and that is the Psychonauts 2 Collector's Edition through I Am 8-Bit. So I do want to preface that I will be sharing this in a moment. So anyone who is still waiting for their copy to arrive and wants to be surprised about what it looks like, I just wanted to throw that little disclaimer out, and I'll put maybe a timestamp of where to skip to if you don't want to see anything Psychonauts related. But here is what the outer box looks like. So it is massive, and I Am 8-Bit made the outer box a secret, as well as the box art cover for the first game. That was supposed to be contained in here as well, a secret. Having waited well over a year for this to arrive, I will say I'm a little disappointed by this collector's edition. Now, this looks stunning. I love the design choice of the outer box. It's simple but effective, and I think it'll be a nice backdrop on my shelf once I figure out where to put it. However, this box is basically empty. When I received the package from I Am 8-Bit, they actually had the 2 games sitting on top of this box, so it wasn't even inside this package. They probably did that, of course, because it was just easier to make this for both the PS4 and Xbox editions, so they don't have to worry about putting the games inside of each respected version. However, even if you were to put the games inside here on your own, there's still so much empty space in here. Because inside here, you're only met with a few different paper goods, in addition to the pin set. And the little insert they added in here that holds up the game takes up the majority of the space inside this box. So, and one of my biggest pet peeves when it comes to collector's editions are large boxes that contain nothing inside them. And I feel like this is probably one of the most egregious collector's editions I've received that fits this mold, unfortunately. Looking at the items, these are the things that they advertised on their website, so I knew that these will be what's inside here. But this box is just unnecessarily large, so that's a little disappointing for me. But overall, I do like the poster and sticker sheets. I don't think I'll ever use them, so they'll probably stay in the box. And I also liked the pin set it came with. But my main motivation for ordering this collector's edition, despite the price tag, was I wanted the first Psychonauts game physically on the PS4. In addition to, of course, the sequel. And I will say I do like the box art choice, and they decided to go for this special version. I Am 8-Bit did another one that has a slightly different box art. Though I am still kind of questioning whether the price tag was really worth it just for this game alone and this empty box. Some cool stuff, but really the box is pretty empty still. And in addition to the first game, they also included the Motherlode edition for the sequel. So this is the same one you get at retail. So there's really nothing special here. It contains some stickers and some postcards, as well as this lenticular cover, which they put tape on it. So I'm gonna have to mess with it and clean it up so it doesn't have that sticky residue left on it, unfortunately. But overall, I am happy to finally own these since I've been holding out on playing the sequel because I wanted to replay the remastered PS4 version of the first game before getting into the sequel here. And of course wanting just to play my physical versions rather than double dipping digitally. I am still a little conflicted about the price for the items received. I think they could have done so much more with this collector's edition, especially given how long it took for them to produce this. But in the end, I'm glad to finally own these, and especially these 2 physical copies of one of my favorite childhood 3D action platformer games that I will hopefully get to relive sometime soon. So the last 3 things I'll be sharing in this video are all Xenoblade related. This first is a fan-made Zine, and it looks like this. I'll have a link below of the account I followed with details regarding this. They might have some extras available for sale if anyone's interested, but I'm not sure if those have sold out yet or not. But this is the first time I've actually purchased a fanzine before. And so a fanzine is like a fan magazine, and it contains a lot of great fan art, as well as some short stories, and I think there's also recipes in here, and some cosplayer photos, and some other just fan-related projects all combined in this bound book. And it's just so cool to see just how much diversity there is in different artists, styles, and all depicting the 3 games that are available on the Switch. And it's so cool to see how many talented people there are that make fan art. And it was also nice to be introduced to more fan artists that make art of some of my favorite franchises, through this project. And the package I chose for this fan sign also included a lot of paper goods. So there's a lot of cool stickers, a notepad, some postcards, in addition to what was contained inside this book. There are some other nice packages, I think with some like totes and keychains and enamel pins and whatnot. But I think I was a little too late to hop onto those specific packages, and they're a little expensive, but fan art is expensive to make, so I understand the price that they were asking. But yeah, it's really cool, I think, to get official gaming related stuff, but it's also cool to get fan related stuff as well. So I always encourage people to kind of seek out different fan artists, other favorite franchises, and see what's available, because you might be surprised of what some people could do, and they're always, I think, really nice additions to the collection. And the last two things I have to share in this video are two soundtracks that recently came out for Xenoblade. So I have the large Trinity box here that contains all of the soundtracks and music from the Switch releases, as well as the limited edition for Xenoblade Chronicles 3 that contains all the music from the game, as well as the DLC extra story feature redeemed. It also contains a nice postcard with printed signatures on the back side, as well as the two replica flutes for Noah and Mio. Xenoblade Chronicles has some of my favorite video game music of all time, and even though these were two expensive packages, I'm really glad to own them physically. I did have some issues with them coming through FedEx that I won't get too much into. Basically, FedEx thought my address didn't exist, and so they were going to send it back to Japan. And I'm mentioning this because I just wanted to say that the Japanese store that handled this release was very responsive via email and was able to redirect FedEx's error to actually deliver this package to me. So I'm very thankful for them for that. And I do know that the first few orders that they sent out of these soundtracks, a lot of them came damaged because they weren't packed properly inside of an international shipping box. But I think I got one of the later shipments, so mine was very well packaged and no damage, thankfully, to any of these expensive boxes. These collector edition soundtracks, unfortunately, are no longer available from my understanding, but you can get the standard edition, at least for Xenoblade Chronicles 3 right now. And they also released the standard edition for Xenoblade Chronicles, a definitive edition as well. And I've been able to get the Xenoblade Chronicles 2 soundtrack fairly easily as well online, at least used for not too much money. As a music lover, I really enjoy collecting physical soundtracks of my favorite franchises, so I'm really happy to have both of these and have them contained in such impressive packages. So that is everything that arrived last month, as well as a little bit into September. So I hope you guys enjoyed this haul video and didn't mind too terribly of my brief hiatus on YouTube. I guess the long story short is I've been experiencing a little bit of burnout, so I thought I should probably step away a little bit and spend time playing games as well as getting into other hobbies, just so that I can take a short break and hopefully come back better than before. As I mentioned in one of my community posts, I've also been pretty stressed out at work, and I've been getting into the job hunt again now that my postdoctoral fellowship is going to be wrapping up sometime next year. So I've been applying to like faculty positions and things like that. So it's been very stressful. But I'm hoping to get more of a consistency with YouTube again. So hopefully posting once a week, and hopefully some extra things whenever I have time. So I still have plenty of content and videos I want to put out sometime soon. It might take a little bit longer than usual, but hopefully you'll again get back on track and start being consistent with uploads again. But until my next video, bye guys.